from the government, and I'm here to help.
Take a look, it's in a book.
Some members of the community use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda.
Let's watch Figure It Out.
Welcome back, everybody, to another great episode of the We Figured It Out podcast. We are the end of days best friends. I'm your boy, Michael.
And I'm Matt.
And today we have another great guest. As always, we bring everybody on here, and we like to hear people that have gone from one faith to Jesus. We love Jesus. We're going to let it roll. And it's a little weird. Not weird. Sorry, I guess weird's rude.
It's going to be weird. No.
It's going to be weird. So today we have Heidi, the Unfiltered Rise podcast. Thank you so much, too. We were talking earlier, and you obviously had a little bit of a busy day, so chilling out with us at the end is going to be cool. So we appreciate that.
I'm so happy to be here, and it's so much fun. Like, I actually love the chatting part of the podcast. Now, editing, but you know, the chatting is amazing. But yeah,
we found if we make like a weird anomaly spike in our editing, you know, if we're quiet for 2 seconds or if something happens, we're like, oh, that's where it started. And then we just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm always like, I told him it was unfiltered. So, you know, I mean, I am 40, almost 49 this year. And so, look, computers weren't even invented when I was like 12. So I'm on a learning curve. And the first few episodes I recorded, I cried. I was using iMovie. This is how ridiculous it was. Like, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. Right. And I actually went back the other day because my son, get a teenager, they'll tell you. He's like, Mom, your early stuff is super cringy. You should probably. I'm like, shut up. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I got a 14-year-old, and I'll catch like his friends, and they'll mention something from one of my podcasts, like what I said, and think they're funny, you know, or sly. And I'm just like, God, I hate kids.
The kid. I can't get mine to watch it. Yours are better than mine. Mine
just like to make fun of me.
Yeah, mine don't. They're like, sorry, Mom, we love you, but like, and this is like my 20-year-old. So this is my 25-year-old. She's like, sorry, Mom, it's super weird to listen to you on the podcast. Like, it's weird. You're my mom. She's like, no.
It is. What do you think about hearing yourself? Do you ever hear yourself and go, that's kind of weird?
Yeah, I hate it.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yep.
I can't listen editing to our podcasts. I let Michael do all that because I can't stand the sound of my own voice.
People tell me that too. They're like, your deep voice, and it's soothing, or it's this and it's all that. And I'm like, dude, I listen to it and I hate it. Like, I sound all weird.
I think you don't hear yourself right because of the echo in your head. You know, you think you sound different. And so when you hear yourself the other way, you're like, who is that? Maybe
it really is like all just in your head there, you know, and that's why you sound different, because you're a little programmer.
Yeah, it could be that. It's definitely echoing.
Before we get into the Mormon stuff here, that reminds me, I stumbled down a little path where your brain is 0.88 milliseconds slower than what's really happening around you. And when everything is happening, it's just like chemical reactions and science and color, you know, colors and all that stuff. But your brain is really interpreting whatever it thinks it is at 0.88 slower. So it's really perceived for yourself, you know, whatever it is in your brain.
I actually think that might be variable, because I've seen some people, and I think it might be like a 2-second delay, because
people like green lights. Somebody like when the light goes green, that person is like at least 5 seconds.
Big pedal on the right, push it with your foot, and especially here
0.88 to 5 seconds, that's what we're saying.
There we go. That's better, because here in Utah, well, people drive like death can't touch them. This is what my friend told me once, because they have the priesthood, right? So, and some have the second anointing. And so like, they're definitely going. So yeah, it's crazy out here. I don't know if you've ever been to Utah, but it's dangerous. So
I drove through Utah on my way back from California a couple months back, and it was really rainy, and we're in Colorado with hills too, you know? And I was like, some of these cars are driving a little crazy. And as soon as my wife and I thought of that, we saw one on the other side of the overpass just spin out right on the mountain.
no,
We were like,
they don't
yeah.
care. Yeah, the first snow of the year too. It's not like some people are like, it's because the California people moved here. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. I think it's the people that forgot how to drive and they didn't slow down because they spin out like every year. The first 2-3 snowstorms, you get snow. I'm sure you get it. You got Mormons out there. Come on.
Yeah, we got what is it, Colorado City or something right on our border?
Oh, really?
I think that's what they call it. Colorado City is the name of it. And we got like a lot of left escape Mormons, that stay in a community down there.
Ooh, Colorado City is another one down, well, in southern Utah, and it's on the border of Arizona. Maybe Colorado. No, it's the other way. And so I'm like, wait, I got to trace it. Yeah, other side. But that's Warren Jeff's community. And that's like Little House on the Prairie Dresses. But I know they have another compound in Colorado as well. Or they did. Like now, I don't know because they busted him and it's a whole disaster. But I mean, yeah. Have you guys ever heard my story about that on Warren Jeffs? No,
tell us. Because I definitely know Warren Jeffs, right? That's the like if you stuck up a picture for Latter-day Saints or fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, correct? There's two different.
Yes. There's so many. There's like tons of sects of even polygamy ones, but he's one of the main, and he's in prison and has been for a long time. But my sister married his nephew. So yeah, there's a reason why I have a podcast, and I'm always like telling people weird little things about my life, and they're like, wow, like all these, that's the minuscule, that little detail. But like, they just say things like, really, all this stuff has happened? You're either a habitual liar or you have like terrible luck. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just think,
Can you so let's start then with that. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about you, Mormonism, and then like let's branch into, when you started feeling off about it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So I was born in the church, and I didn't really ever have a choice of another church, pretty much. I mean, I didn't even know there was another church. Basically, it wasn't forced on me or anything. You're just raised in it. And everybody around you's Mormon. I'm in Utah now. I didn't move here till I was 12. I'm actually from Idaho. And so we live there. It's a little bit different Mormons there, probably like the Colorado Mormons. I'm guessing they still are basically the same, but less piously stuck up, kind of. I don't know. And that's judgmental. Maybe I should reword that. It's different. They're very judgy here because this is, the hub, right? This is the main area. Yeah. And so either you're perfect or you lie about it. And, growing up, it was still pretty staunch. Idaho's not too far away, and it was just a little bit less. But also living in Idaho is also weird because like I never saw a Black person until I was 12. So, I mean, it's strange. Like,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness in these states, right? Because Idaho's kind of known for like white supremacy, weird stuff sometimes. And then, so I'd see Native people because there's a lot of those. But I remember the first time we moved back to here, and it was like 6th grade, and I was just staring at this girl. I didn't know how to not stare yet, like, or be the side eye, and she was gonna kick my ass. Like I'm telling you, like, and she just was like, "What?" And I was like, "I just like your hair. Can I touch it? Like, it's so awesome." And we became best friends. But like, this is much of my life. These hills and valleys, right? It's always a dichotomy, we'll say it that way, because growing up, like I said, I had these Jack Mormon parents, but they made sure I was super good and went with my neighbors who were very pious. And like, she got up at 3 a.m. every morning to grind wheat, to make bread, to give to the kids. And there's like 6 kids. So she's just making bread all the day. And she was very, nice person. But my family was like, they drank and they smoked and they still did all the things, but they believed in it. But my grandma, she was as pious as the bread lady. So when I moved back here, I became a ward of the courts because there was some problems. Well, clearly, because it was like the 90s and they didn't even care about any of that then. So obviously it was a problem. But and my stepdad was just trying to kill everyone, basically. And my mom wasn't handling that well.
We can't just brush over that.
Yeah. So he really was abusive. Literally, he was like an awful abuser. Like I had to go a bunch of times to like the women's shelter and all these
Okay.
things. Like it was very sad. And my mom did the best she could, but like she's working with a very little like window, right? She didn't have a college education. She was scared to leave because of that, like all these different things. And people always say, well, just leave then. Well, like, yeah,
That's what I
you
was
put
going to ask.
yourself in the
Are the
situation.
women, stuck there kind of almost, or like kept stuck essentially?
Yeah, I mean it's financial abuse.
Yes,
Mhm.
it was.
Essentially, withholding
I
money and funds, and
we had money and we had a very nice home and like this Firebird Trans Am fancy car. We had all this stuff, but when he would leave to go on the road for his job, he would leave us without money or food. And then he would get mad when the church would step in and help, or like neighbors, and it was constant. And so I think she was literally afraid, to what was she going to do, right? Like, and people have
Mhm.
said rude things when I share this sometimes, but she watches my show and it's all water under the bridge. And that's why I say I'm okay to talk about these things, because unfiltered is your warning and rise is, you can rise above anything. Just because I tell these sad things doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to go give up on life and do these horrible self-destructive things. Like, no, I
Yeah, absolutely.
decided not to do that,
Mhm.
and I like to share that because a lot of people do that. And I'm a psych nurse now. I've been a nurse for 26 years, a registered nurse. So psych is newer to me. My brother died of an accidental overdose quite a few years ago. And after that happened, I just wanted to do something to help. Like, I mean, we were trying to help him and clearly we didn't get through. I mean, some of that's his choices too. I'm just saying, you want to either, you can wallow in that pity or you can do something with it. If we all stopped acting like our shit was all together, like we could probably help each other, but people don't like to do that. It looks
It
bad.
takes people though that have been somewhere to truly care for another person, I believe.
Yes,
you're
yeah,
not going to go and lie through life and have like this great life and pretend you have hardships and then become a nurse and be a good nurse at it. You're going to suck at
right.
it and you're not going to care about the other person.
Well, and the sick kill the sick, right? Like let's
Mm-hmm.
be honest. And I always tell
Zuri
people,
loves company.
yeah. Yeah. And I always tell people that are there, like, especially if it's their first or second day on detox, I'm like, they're like, this place sucks. This place sucks so bad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's worse though, right? And they're like, no, what? I'm like, well, my brother didn't make it to a place like this and he's not here anymore. So I'm glad you're here. And I'll never be like shameful, like, ooh, so you should be here. I'll be like, I'm just happy you made it, so you made it through today. Let's make it to tomorrow.
How do you
But
right? And then I always am so torn when you try to tell somebody like that exactly what you said, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but it sucks, and I'm still here." And it's
yeah,
like, yeah, you're not wrong. It does, but
it does.
it
Yeah.
won't always suck.
Right, right. And honestly, I think most people receive it. I wouldn't tell that to just anyone. You can kind of tell, who you can talk to and who you can't. But legally, whatever, I probably shouldn't say that at all. But also, I became a nurse to like help people, and I feel like that's not helping anyone with me just sitting there handing them pills all day. Like that's just, I
No,
mean,
there's
yeah.
still ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm careful about it, but I always, do a grain of salt, and I'm always on the edge of everything anyway. I'm sure they're always wondering about me. Like if they say we can't pray with people, I'm still going to pray with people. Like it's just, if I get fired over that, okay. Like it is what it is. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I am lucky that my mom planted these tiny little seeds as I was living with my grandmother, that she got out and became a born again Christian. And when people say, well, don't even bother with that person, I was that person. I was the don't bother with me. Like I was so stuck in this religion that you couldn't have told me that I would ever change. And so the fact that my mom did that, and she was super careful, wasn't, demeaning or anything. She just, a lot of Jesus talk and just very careful. And I remember me and my grandma just laughing and being like, she just doesn't know because she hasn't been to the temple and she doesn't know. And I'm like, now I look back on that and see like, wow, that was really pompous of us, but that's how it is. Like I'm going to make a t-shirt. I keep saying this. I'm the worst about my little shirt store that says, I'm sorry for what I said when I was Mormon. Because I just cared about like my shoes and what purse I could buy next and the Kardashians and like dumb stuff. It's so dumb. You look
At
back
the
at it
same
now.
time, though, you loved the other girl's hair. Was it because yours was
Right.
plain or hers was plain?
I think
And
I was
like,
always fascinated with people that look different than me. Always. And my brother did marry outside of the race as well. Like he married a lady that was from Chicago, and she immediately liked me. Boom. We were just automatic friends. And I'm like, I just think it's just something within you or not. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like because my family was racist, that me and my brother were like, yeah, I don't think God plays like that. Like, and we were extra like, oh, let's, totally be against this. And it's actually funny because, his dad had one child, which was my brother. I'm the step kid. So it was worse for me. But yeah, so he got married and his only posterity left in this whole world is half black. So that is what God will do when you're an asshole. So don't be an asshole, because I mean, she's gorgeous and wonderful. And you know what? He loves her. He changed.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
God can do anything. He
Yeah.
taught him that lesson by showing him love through that way. But like, if you would have told him that back in the day, I'm sure he'd have just lost his mind. But that's
something I'm like in my walk right now, I'm really starting to try to focus more on is that kind of subject that you said, is instead of looking at what God is doing for me and being like, oh, well, he's making me bored or uninterested in my job because he wants me to get a different job. No, that's negative, right? Don't think that he's making me like bored and uninterested in it because he wants me to accept that sometimes I need to, put my head down to the grindstone or be humble about it, or,
Be
tend to the
grateful for
field.
what
Yes.
you do have.
Yes. Be
Yeah.
grateful I have money and a good job,
Yeah.
absolutely
Mhm.
God definitely. And maybe that's just something that like we all have to learn. My husband says this all the time to our kids. He's like, the world's not here to entertain you, right? Like 90% of your life is going to be super boring, or maybe 80. He's like, you're going to have responsibilities and all this stuff. And he's like, I think he says 20%. So he's like, a good 20% will be amazing, and
Mhm.
it's all what you do with that, because it's worth it, and so I agree. I've had some really bad things that have taught me some really good things. And if I took that away, would I be who I am? I don't know. Would I just care about Kardashians still? Who knows?
Everybody will always care for the Kardashians.
Well, back in the day, now they're getting real weird looking. And then,
Yes.
all the
It's-
things. Yeah.
You can't stay
I think
young
somebody was
forever.
on the list too. Just saying.
That's strange. There's a lot of, yeah, it's scary. I don't know.
The elite bloodline stuff, is interesting and fascinating to me with those people.
The elite bloodlines are fascinating in general, and people love to make fun of me, even though they watch like a 2-second clip and they're like, there is no elite bloodlines. I literally had somebody from the confessionals the other day. They put out another short and the guy said, there are no kings. And I was like, right, because history, there was no. Okay, I literally can't argue with. I tried. I was like, so are you being serious right now? And he was like, yeah, I'm not ruled by kings. I'm like, yeah, but we know they're in existence, right? And I'm not talking about these bloodlines because I'm cool. Like, I'm saying this is weird. Why is this happening? And people just miss it. They're like, there are no elite bloodlines in the Mormon faith. I'm like, yes, there is. There's a lot of them. Are they Mormon? Are they elite because they're Mormon? No, they're elites, and then they're Mormon, right? It's like, let's use your mind.
It seems like it's pretty vanity anyways. Like that draws they kind of feed off of each other in that, it seems like.
Well, I only bring it up because I think that they hid some people here, and there's a huge connection through Lanzo Meadows and the Templars, which is what I always try to get to. But so many people are obsessed with like bloodlines don't matter. I'm like, then why do they rule the world? Like, please tell me why all these certain bloodlines are like set up for life. Yes, it does.
Why are there certain like better priesthoods than others?
And it matters. Like, I don't care what they say. It matters. And here's the thing. I don't even think at the end of the day, like when we talk about Rex Deus and everything like that, that they are what they say they are. I don't even think they're the bloodline of Jesus. I think they're DNA manipulation of some weird ass shit that's probably back to Nephilim. So, do I think they know who's what, where, why? Yep, I do. They follow all of it. Like, why do they track everyone's genealogy? And why was it so important to enable it during World War II? Like, hello, they're clearly tracking stuff,
Yeah, it's what we do. We're literally doing the same thing today that they were doing. They just had to write it down or carve it in stone. It's not, oh yeah, you'll know your bloodline way down the line. It was like, no, they're keeping track of certain people, certain bloodlines. Yep.
And even if you talk about it and you're trying to expose something, they're like, well, you're not cool. I'm like, yeah, I said that. Like, I know that's bad. Like, yeah. I'm trying to like show them like, this is what happened with me. And then I was related to everyone. And why is that? Because my family is supposed to be poor farmers. Like, what? Like, that's weird. Why am I currently right now? I'm like the 15th great grandpa that I have is the King of England. Why? Why did that happen when they're poor farmers that were Mormon? Like, that doesn't make any sense, And so that's what I was trying to talk about because, I'm down the Marie Antoinette line, which there's the whole story there and it's a conspiracy and people don't want to talk about it. But I'm like, clearly it matters. So
there's a lot of like Masonic symbolism that you could put ancient English kings or things back that old before even Mormon existed, and it's like, well, how come it's the same thing then?
Because it's back to Babylon and even probably further than that, and we just don't know. Like it matters. And so when we know this stuff, like even back to the Bible, it's just crazy. And you try to expose the things, bring light to the darkness, hopefully, but no. So all these things I kind of found out on my way out. I'll tell you, most of this weirdo stuff, like what we're talking right now, I've learned, like, I'll see something strange and I'm like, shh, that's stupid. Nope, not true. And then I'll go down the rabbit hole and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is true. So that's like 90% of my research. The other 10% was my mom just trying to get me to love Jesus and leave, the filthy rags behind and stop trying to, have so much control over everything. And I'm going to get my own self to heaven because I know how, because I'm better than everybody else, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you don't get it when you're in that. It's a checklist. Like, do you really know God? Do you really have a relationship with him? Oh, no, but I said my prayers today and I did my visiting teaching and da, 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 da. And so, they do that to you and they keep you busy because you will never have a relationship with God that way. Never, like ever. I definitely didn't. And so, yeah, that's my thoughts on
so is Jesus different I don't even know what type of Bible, like in the Book of Mormon, what parts of the Bible are in there. I know it's like Abraham but it, you still have the Elohim and things like that in the Book of Mormon.
Well, they're not gonna. Okay, so, and we'll get into the origin story of Mormonism in general, but for this question specifically, I will tell you, like, if you went and talked to a missionary and you said, hey, this says that even if another angel brings another book to me, that it's a lie, right, in the Bible, because it does, it says so. And they'll be like, well, that Bible can't be trusted because it could be translated incorrectly, but you without your plates because you're not Jesus, the angel needed them and took them back with him. And you have no absolute zero archaeological proof of anything. Okay, you're to be trusted. So they wrote something called the Joseph Smith translation, and that supersedes, but it's still the King James Bible, but they like fix it if it's not, right. So, and they very much cherry pick. Yeah. And so they just like to do what they do with it, but they will tell you, like, if it came down to two verses, bam, bam, this one says this one says that, and they're contradictory, they will tell you to go with the Book of Mormon. So
really? So they'll take, I guess this is just a completely random question for me. It's almost like you could read the Bible and then be like, let's make it actually say that. This part sounds a little better. Okay.
Yep. 100%. And then, so I think a lot of this will help, like when I get into the origin stories and everything about it, it will explain more because they have a very different theology than, most. They don't believe in the Trinity. They don't believe in certain things. So they don't believe in the cross. They hate the cross. Who else hated the cross? The Cathars did. But when you get into history, everybody's forgotten all that stuff already. No one cares. So it's interesting to me, I don't think Joseph Smith was a liar. I think he was doing some stuff. Was he high? Probably. I mean, that was part of a sacrament back then, right? But I don't think that's why the things happened. And
he was known to be a practicer of magic.
Right, which is what we'll get. I'm going to grab this really quick and share my screen, and we'll get into that because I think you're right on track. And the point is most people do not. Most people are like, no, he's just crazy or a liar or a swindler or he's high. And I'm like, yeah, all of that doesn't tell me exactly what I think, right? Like, I don't think so. And so when we're studying people, can you see that? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And so when we study people, I think it's really important that we study their families. I think that it gives you, just like I told you about my family and the things I've overcome and whatever, it gives you a feel for like who I am. So same thing with Joseph. When I started studying him, I thought, I've always known who he was. I've always known, the story from the church, but like I never knew anything about really much else, like past. So I wanted to dig into his genealogy, but I couldn't find it, which is really weird because the Mormons, they're super good on top of it with the genealogy, right? Like they are the inventors of digitized genealogy, through Howard Hughes, through Bill Gay, through Hughes Dynamics. This was all done. And all of these things poured into FamilySearch.org, which then pours into Ancestry and 23andMe. So does the church own that company? This is how they get around that. Nope, they don't. Does all the information that they have come from it? Probably. So, sticky, right? It's a sticky situation, but
genius.
Right. They're smart. No one, well, they do say he was a dumb farm boy, and I will prove that is a lie because that one upsets me more than anything. And for people listening to this, I'm not an anti-Mormon. My family is still Mormon. Even though I got booted out for the most part with most of them, it doesn't mean I love them less. It's just, a situation, but my in-laws are Mormon. Like everybody around me is. I live in Utah, at the mothership, as my friend JJ likes to say. So here we are with this situation where I'm telling you some negative things about the founder of the church and all this stuff. But all of this stuff that I'm going to tell you applies to the elite members of the church, really the upper echelon, right? And just like anything, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it does, and we have to look at family dynamics and all this stuff. So what I knew of Joseph was he grew up in the burned over district. He was a poor farm boy. He couldn't barely write. He could barely read. And yeah, that's what they want you to believe. All right. Well, these are his relatives. And one of them is Samuel Smith. And this would be his grandfather on his father's side. And Samuel Smith is pretty interesting. He is Captain Samuel Smith, but it's in quotations. And Captain Samuel Smith, Society of Cincinnati, verified by JJ Vance. And, he's helping with a bunch of things in town because he is a selectman of Topsfield, Massachusetts. So that's not where I thought Joseph was from. Like, I was like, that's weird. I've never heard that before. And then you look down and you see, oh, okay, it says he was involved in organizing the Boston Tea Party. That's weird. How come we've never heard of this guy? Like, Mormons are super patriotic. And I do still say Mormons because when I grew up, they were Mormons and they can change their name around as much as they want. But when I grew up, that's what we were. So that's what I say. People are always like, it is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I know what the name is. I'm not going to do that every time I talk. There's no way.
Abbreviate it. Just give us the acronym.
Yeah. Plus the guy before the guy now was like, we are Mormons. And now the guy now is like, we are LDS. So I'm not playing the game. It is whatever.
I wouldn't want to be called LDS anything after Jeff Warren's. I feel like that's the worst one.
Yeah, it's just, it's just not this. I'm just going to keep doing it. So people could be mad if they want to, but whatever. And so when we look at this, it doesn't make sense for them not to be like, hey, guess what? This was our cool great grandpa. Like, look at this guy. He's helping, organize things. He was an attorney. He was a selectman. He was this like high up guy. But yeah, they're supposed to be dumb, poor farmers. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I wonder why they're hiding this guy so bad. Well, I found my answer. So before Captain Samuel Smith, there is another Samuel Smith. He's the senior, and he was born in 1666, like 666. That one's just funny. I mean, whatever. He can't help when he's born. But it's still funny because he named his kid.
His parents can.
Right, exactly. She should have held that. No, I don't even know what month. But he was involved in the Inquisition and hung some witches. So that's a problem because what we know of Salem and the witchcraft trials back then is what alchemists were pretty much doing a lot of the killing there. They were kind of like, methinks you protest too much situation, right? Like they were usually the ones that knew some things. So I can't prove that he was into anything or whatever, but I do know he hung Mary Easty, and I do know that she was going to be found innocent until he came forward with his testimony. So people can look that up. It's a real thing. I have verified it at the Salem Museum. And I have somebody coming to speak on that soon.
Do you think they were witches they were going after?
I think they were witches.
That were attacking. Yeah. Okay.
Attacking the other ones.
Mhm.
Calling them
I don't
witches.
even know if the people they were attacking were witches. Like, I wonder, in my thoughts, is they knew some dirt on this family and then they made sure those people went away, So that's just
a lot
my
of that
thought.
worked, I feel like.
Yep. Like, no, it was you. And she was a girl and he was a boy. And that was the end of Mary Easty. And so put her name in your back pocket. There's a date that's going to come up that's really important when we talk about her again. So, but as for now, the Captain Samuel, he has Joseph Smith Sr. And again, they can say it wasn't him. They're like, oh, we don't know about this guy. We don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, why was he born in Topsfield, Massachusetts, where this guy was from? And it's well documented that he's all involved up in the whole thing. So basically like a mayor. And so, yeah, whatever. I'm not buying it. Like, really?
Yeah, in that time period, you all knew each other, especially in colonial.
Same space, same town. Like, okay, there was another one. Oh,
yeah.
All
There's
right.
14 people in your town. We know.
I'm like, that's stupid. Stop. So, I do find it interesting. And I pull this up just to show you guys, like, they named their kid as Azazel. It isn't Azazel, but I don't know too many Christian people that are named that. Like, I mean, it's in the Bible, I guess, but whatever. I don't know.
Why even mess with it?
Right. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting. And I just throw that in there to make that little comment. But I'm not going to judge them on that. There's plenty to judge on. We don't have to make up things, but that one's funny. So this is Mother Smith. This is Joseph Smith's mom, Lucy Mack Smith. And she was known as a healer and like a lay midwife and all this stuff, even though they want her to be dumb too, but she wasn't. And Lucy ended up writing a book and also having some excerpts from her manuscript kept at the church library in Salt Lake City. And there's one sentence in this that I want to read to you and see what you think about it. Let not my reader suppose that because I shall pursue another topic for a season that we stopped our labors and went at trying to win the faculty of a brack, drawing magic circles, or soothsaying to the neglect of all kinds of business. That's a sentence. So people are going to say, well, she was saying she wasn't doing that. I'm like, why the hell would you write that when they're hanging people? Like, seems a little not right.
It seems risky.
Exactly. And this seems very like comfortable for her, to just spat all that out. And I'm like, okay, well, that's strange, right? That's a lot. And for those that don't know about the faculty of a brack, most of the time in this time period, and I can only speculate because she's not here to ask, that she's talking about Abraxas, right?
I was just going to ask that. Is it Abraxas?
Yep, I would think so. And abracadabra, also a magical saying that comes from, this whole situation, which, Crowley twisted and changed to like, I don't know how he says it. He changed it around a little bit. People sometimes ask me, and that's what happened. He just changed it to make it fit his little ways, like he always does everything. But originally it was abracadabra. So we see these things and we know that what they're involved with. Certainly not Christianity, right? Masons or witchcraft or something like that, but definitely probably not Christians. But yet they're spouting that they're Christian. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's weird. That's all. We have to show the things that are strange because it doesn't make sense when you add it all up.
If you're a Christian, you wouldn't say those things.
Not when they're hanging people.
Yes.
I mean,
especially when they're hanging.
Yeah, especially
people.
That's the
seems
worst.
Like a bad
to say.
plan. Yeah, seems like a bad plan. And so we get into why Joseph even, challenges his religion at all, or like, why does he even start this whole thing? What is he doing to even get to this point? And this is the church story now. There are 4 to 5 accounts of the first vision, which I'm going to tell you the church's narrative at this time, but there's some interesting ones. But we'll just go with theirs. So Joseph Smith says he didn't know which church to join. So he went out in the woods to pray about it. So he goes out there and he's overcome with a fit of darkness. I have to be very careful how I say this. One time I said he passed out. People came at me. It's a whole thing. So, okay, he was overcome by a fit of darkness. And he was saved by these spirits, God the Father and the Son, which I think it's fantastic that he was able to like visualize them both and everything and not have his eyes burn out or, go blind, whatever, but that's fine. Whatever. But
the Bible tells you instantly drop dead.
Yeah. And 2 of them, because also they don't believe in the Trinity. So God, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, which they call the Holy Ghost, are 3 different things. And so
how do you see all 3?
The Holy Ghost is it's a feeling. So,
okay, gotcha.
But it is a real thing, but like Holy Spirit, but they call it Holy Ghost. And so he says, these guys came and they said, don't join any of the churches. We're going to send you an angel, like the song, send me an angel. No, we don't need that stuck in our heads. Okay. So they send him Moroni, and no, it's not Moroni. It's not like macaroni. It's Moroni. And so he is a problem for me because I know one thing: angels were never humans, and they just weren't. And so they say he was an angel, but he used to be a human. So I'm like, sticky situation here. Okay, so I'm saying spirit for sure. But regardless, this guy was supposed to be a Native American that once lived on the earth, and then he became white and delightsome. So there's that.
Sounds like what's the cryptid that takes like shape? Why can't I think of it? Skinwalker.
Oh, right. Well, then we have those in Utah.
Right? Yeah.
And this isn't in Utah, but he does talk to him and he says, look, I'm going to give you these golden plates and you're going to write another book. And this is a book about the people here in America. And it's their account, kind of like the Bible is the account over there. This is the account over here. And that's why they wanted him to do that. But he couldn't just get them. Like most of the people think, okay. And then he just got the plates and went home and started translating them up. No, that's not what happened. He actually had quite the situation trying to even get them. He was super hard at like getting these plates for, I think it was 4 or 5 years. He was working at it and he wasn't good enough for a while and whatnot. And he kept going back at the same time every single year. And, that's interesting.
So he had to earn them. He didn't like build them.
I think what happened is he was probably doing a purification ritual and not doing it correctly. That's my guess. It's just a guess, but one of the times he almost got them. And this is an account to Willard Chase, which is in an affidavit. And people can go look this up. I did not make up this insane story, but something like a toad was protecting them. And he went to go touch them and grab them. And then something like a toad turned into a man and punched him in the face. Do I think that's real? You guys can make fun of me all day long. That's your story from your church. So, not my problem. No, I'm not mentally ill. That's a real thing in your guys'
Prince
church.
Charming punched him in the face.
Right? Yeah. And funny enough, as funny as that sounds,
And they're running around calling other people witches.
Yeah, right. And when you know about this, there's stories of Baal worship in the forest where this exact same thing happens. And so it's a little scary, but I'm not saying it was or wasn't. I'm just saying it didn't happen for many years. And eventually the angel was like, look, if you come next year and bring your brother, like, I guess. And the brother was the oldest son. And so he was like, great. Yeah, let's do that. I'll be back on the fall equinox again, dressed in all black with the black horse I have to borrow and all this stuff in the middle of the night. It sounds super Christian to me already. And just, yeah. So why do we know that? Because he had to borrow the stuff from the neighbor. And so the neighbor wrote it down in an affidavit. It's not just like he was talking shit. Like, that's not what was happening. Okay. This guy literally put himself out there writing crazy stuff. And this is all because supposedly he hates him. Like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense. And it doesn't make sense because I'll show you why. There's more connections. But as for now, eventually he's going to go back and get these plates. But the brother dies of constipation shortly after, before the date, and they don't know what to do now, right? And so there's a problem.
Die from that?
Yes, you can die.
Oof.
Actually, multiple reasons.
What a way to go.
Yes. So you could die from the constipation because it can actually poison you, or which you'll just get sepsis and die, or your intestines can rupture, or your doctor in this case could give you too much of your medication and then you die. So that's what happened. And here's this to the public notice that was taken out after the brother died. And it's really ran in the newspaper, Palmyra, September, 25th, 1824. All right. So funny enough, like it's right around the same time frame. So whatever. Okay. We've got this situation and we know this. I'm going to summarize this article and people can read it through if they want to. But basically it says, we're going to dig up our son because you guys said we dug him up, but we didn't dig him up. So we're going to dig him up to show you we didn't, and then put him back. Weird. I don't know about that. That seems really strange. And also 3 days after the whole situation with Joseph, this is running in the paper. So like, did he die on the day he talked to him? Like, I'm curious of that. Like, I'd have to go back and look at the dates, but this is weird in general. So, okay. People joke a lot, and Skull and Bones is going to come up, but people joke that Alvin had a hand in Mormonism, and maybe he did. I don't know. I wasn't there. I do know that approximately almost 9 months after Joseph received these plates, that he had a baby, and it was a boy, and his baby died moments after it was born, and it was severely deformed. Now we have the oldest son of the father and the oldest son of Joseph Smith both dying. I mean, it seems really Faustian to me, but whatever. Maybe it was just coincidence. That's fine.
It's always with them. That doesn't happen in normal life.
No. And so strange, very strange. And then we get to the point where we still think like, okay, now he's got the plates, right? And all my whole entire life, I've been shown like that they translated these like this. Okay. They're studiously with the breastplate of righteousness, the Urim and Thummim, and these giant spectacle things. That's how he could basically read the plates. And he would tell the symbol to the other person, not a word, a symbol. And he called it Reformed Egyptian. We'll get to that soon. But this Reformed Egyptian then was later translated by Joseph, the guy that couldn't read very good. Okay, perfect. And that's not at all what happened. And this is actually what happened. This is the true account, is he would block out all the light and he would put his cedar stone in there. And most of the time the plates were covered and never even used. So I thought this was just malarkey, because the prophet of the church back then, when South Park came out with this whole situation, they were like, this is a lie. Don't watch this. This is stupid. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, yeah, this is fake. Well, then this is our current prophet, seer, and revelator of the church, Russell M. Nelson. He decides, I'm just going to pull the hat out and just be like, pa-ching, take my picture and go with it.
What?
Yeah.
South Park is coming to life.
And it's real. And everything that they said in South Park was real. And so it doesn't surprise me that Russell M. Nelson would be the one to do it. Prophet, seer, and revelator of the church. He is 100 years old and member of Skull and Bones of the University of Utah. Different branch than Yale, but we will get into that one as well. So, you know, Allen Key, all those things. So the University of Utah has their own secret society of Skull and Bones. And that might be okay if it really was started just like, oh, I'm just this regular guy that's never been to Yale and don't care anything about it, right? And I started it or something. But that's not what happened. So in 1909, shortly after the first Skull and Bones was set up, right, at Yale, well, their alumnus, so they've been there, and that was sanctioned, came out and set this up here in Utah.
They allowed them. Okay, so they brought in people from Yale and were like, hey,
it was sanctioned.
We need you. Yep. Okay.
And so the only difference is they say it's a social club, and instead of scroll and key, it's owl, like the animal, and key. And it's very interesting.
Oh, an owl.
Yes, an owl. Yes. Yeah. So there's other connections as well, and I can't prove them because we're going to talk about Fritz Springmeier saying that, you know, the people that set up the original Skull and Bones, the name of one of them is Taft, if you know that. Well, Taft is a Mormon name. Ezra Taft Benson. Yeah. The actual founder of Yale. And so the president of the Mormon Church was Ezra Taft Benson. And so strange enough, same names, similar names, right? And then the other one was the guy, what's his name? William Huntington. Anyway, Russell. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right. And then we've got this lady that marries not only Joseph, but Brigham, and same area. We get in this whole thing again, same areas, same everything. Zena Huntington, right? So I don't know. I'm going to try and still find a different resource because everybody just dogs on Fritz Springmeier, and I get why, but like also, what if he's telling the truth? We don't know. I mean, it sounds crazy, but stranger things have happened, right?
Absolutely. What's the symbolism around all this? What are they digging a hole? Is that what
well,
this
they're
is?
digging for treasure because the Smiths were known as divining rods they used. They were treasure hunter diggers, and that was kind of their job. And this is actually a drawing expressing what Willard Chase, the neighbor, wrote in the affidavit. He said, one time we went treasure digging with the Smiths, and the dad put these symbols in the dirt with his knife and all this stuff. And this is what it was. They did leave out that they slit the black sheep's throat and it bled all over, but that's fine. Whatever. They bled it around the circle. And this is actually witchcraft, and it's for protection from the treasure, you know, demons, whatever, angels,
a curse on the treasure.
Yep. And so for those that don't know about this case, here is the actual documented proof, and you can look up all the affidavits and everything that I'm speaking about here with this case. You can look at it and see exactly what I saw because it's there for everyone. And he was indeed only fined $2.68. This was all a real court case. Did he pay it? No, because he was a Mason. So whatever. Joseph Smith was a master Mason, and he was risen to master Mason in 24 hours because that's normal. No, it's not. And so obviously he knew some things, right? When we're talking about this stuff, we're like, okay, that's strange. And then we see these things, which I'm going to unpack. And this one really threw me over the edge. Like if I haven't already like put some weird stuff out there, we're going to get into extra weird now.
I love it.
So yes. And this one is the one for sure that they cannot deny because his wife was like, that talisman in his pocket, I need it because it was his most prized possession and I want it back. So she verified that it was his. She wanted it back and she got it back because Hiram, his brother, like Hiram Abiff. No, Hiram, it's in the Bible, whatever. So Hiram and Joseph died together. So these other things I'm going to show you, they're like, that was his. No, that was his. And this little game plays out. So that's how they say that these other things aren't theirs, right? But the Jupiter talisman led me to what the heck they really were doing, because D. Michael Quinn writes about this and he talks about their folk magic, right? Folk magic is a real thing and it can be practiced, but Solomonic magic is something very different. And they were not just practicing folk magic. Maybe they did both, but they were definitely Solomonic magic practitioners, because Joseph literally had this on the backside of that Jupiter talisman. I'll go back one more so you can look at it again right here.
He wrote the book of like demons or whatever, Solomon, right?
The Ars Goetia, yep, the 72 demons and the greater and lesser keys of Solomon. So
that's a good thing to practice magic for.
Especially they don't have any books and they can't read, but they're making stuff like
right.
That's fine.
Oh, that's the worst kind of spell to do when you don't even know what you're doing.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I think they did. And people say, well, you know what? He only had that in his pocket because, people were sending bad spirits against him. Okay, hold on. I want to read this little piece. It says, this defendeth and protecteth those who invoke and cause the spirits to come. And when they appear, show this unto them, and they have to obey you. Weird. Okay, that doesn't sound like somebody just sent a spell on you or something. No. You invoked. That means you called. They answered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not
you call them there and you want their bidding, but you want to be safe from it as well.
Yep. And they're, that's probably smart. If you're practicing Solomonic magic, the best thing to do is just not do that. But people be peopling. Yeah, people be peopling, and we can't tell them what to do. But
to say back to what you'd said a couple sentences ago, where they try to say, it was him or his brother since they died together. But like you had explained earlier, the angel still wanted to talk to his brother as well. So they both mattered. They both were probably influential upon each other. So even if his brother did have it, I'm sure Joseph Smith was like, yeah, hell yeah, brother.
Well, and this is even a different brother. So this is the third son that his mother has lost at this point. Well, there's more that died along the way. So this actually is their family heirloom. They call it, what do they call it? Ceremonial dagger. No, it's an atame. Like anybody that does magic knows what this is. And it's a magical artifact. Like you have to have certain things to practice magic. I'm not going to go into like how to do magic 101 because it's really dumb and you probably shouldn't do it unless you know what you're absolutely doing, especially with Solomonic magic. And even then, good luck. Like I'm not doing that.
Jesus says not to do that.
Yeah, it's not for me. But I always tell people, you know what? It's your life. I would say it's best not to do that, but we can't force. But here is some symbols on this knife, this magical dagger. And the only place like that they would get these from at this point is in either Barrett's Magus or Sibley's Book of Witchcraft. Like these are all witchy witch books. And so they're like, well, they didn't even have access to stuff like that. No. Hold on. Hiram Smith went to Dartmouth Indian College, which was called Moore's College back then. And his cousin that was actually related on both sides from the mother and the father, he was there and he was the first professor there, Professor Johnny Smith of Dartmouth Moore's Indian College. But he also was the rare book dealer. So yes, they had access. They did. They didn't have to own it. They didn't have to buy it. If he's selling books, I'm sure that he would let them
rare books
you can
and
use
like a Native American Indian college.
So this college is called that, but technically what it is they're sending people there to learn how to talk to and preach to Native American people. Okay. So they're just a bunch of people like learning, which Hiram was one, but also Lucy Mack Smith's nephew was one, and he did graduate from it, and he was a Mack, not a Smith. So they were actually living there on the college at the trustee's house for quite some time. And not only is that particular person the first professor of Dartmouth Indian College, Morris College, people can fact check that, Professor Johnny Smith, they'll say no relation. Nope, it's on both sides. Yes, it is through like the grandpa and it's a cousin. It's not like his aunt or something like real close, but I'm sorry, relation is relation. I'm sure with, like you said, there wasn't that many people and people were closer knit. So I'm sure they knew who each other was. Like Hiram went there. And at that time, to be accepted into a college like that, I think it was like the statistic was 1 in 1,500 or something. It was really rare. So he went there 3 years, 3 of the 4. And Dr. Nathaniel Smith that ends up saving Joseph's leg because he ends up getting typhoid fever and osteomyelitis in his leg and ends up having to have a whole bunch of surgeries because they didn't just chop it off. They actually cut out the infection little by little. And Dr. Nathan Smith, even though he's there and has the same last name as they do, somehow it slips his mom's mind when she's writing her book. She just calls him Dr. Nathan or Dr. Nathan Stone. And it's come to find out later that's definitely not true.
Yeah, that's
and it was
a choice.
It was a little flex on Brigham Young because she's left with like all of her kids almost dead. Like Joseph's wife is pregnant. Like he's got kids to, keep care of. Nobody's like going to take care of her if they take the church and go to Utah, And so she basically put this book together and it's a book about, if you can read between the lines, it's a very important book because it's going to expose all this Dartmouth stuff, which is going to expose Salem once again. And so that shows connections that they don't really want and magical stuff. And Brigham just wants all that to go away. So he does end up helping Mother Smith for quite some time afterward because Joseph's son was supposed to take over, but he was only 10. So that's really not going to work out at that point. That's why Brigham got into power, because people said when he gave a speech, they literally saw Brigham Young turn into the dead Joseph Smith. So
what?
I don't know. Yeah, this is real. Not my story, guys. This is what they say. Sidney Rigdon and he had like a little speech off. It wasn't a debate per se, but it was just like, you do your best and I'll do my best. And apparently when Brigham got up there, they literally heard and saw Joseph Smith take over Brigham Young. And he became him for a minute when he was giving this speech. And it wasn't one account. It was a whole bunch.
So reincarnation. Almost.
I would say
Like
a visitation.
almost.
Yeah,
There you
possession. And so it was very strange. But why do they call, spirits familiar spirits, right? Because they know everything. They know everything about you. They know all your wants and likes, just like we have guardian angels, like they know everything too. And if you believe that you can be helped, do you not think like, yeah, there's guys following you on the bad side, It makes sense. And so they would know what those people would want in a leader so that they could then present that if that's the direction they want things to go. So that's my guess on it. That's just my little thoughts, of course. But this is an order that makes so much more sense when we're talking about being a Mason, because when we talk about Joseph Smith, people are like, yeah, because he was a Scottish Rite Mason. I'm like, you need to check your years, because the Scottish Rite had only been really organized for about 50 something years at this time. And I don't think so. So it would have to come here, travel over to this area and become popular enough for Joseph Smith to be like a part of it. Right. And know all these things. But also the Scottish Rite is not a practicing magic order. They learn about it. They do certain things, but they don't practice magic. And so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but this does. This is an older order. These are called Martinists, and Martinists are a practicing Masonic order, and they practice Solomonic magic. And what was he doing with all this weird stuff that I'm showing you? He was doing Solomonic magic. And so it makes sense to me. Now, this is just my conjecture, of course, that this is the case. Also, at the time, right before Joseph died, he was studying Hebrew, even though he was a dumb farm boy that couldn't even write English. He's going to try and learn one of the hardest languages in the world and learn Hebrew from a Jewish guy that had actually became a Mormon. So again, what does the Martinist order do? it's Kabbalistic arts. So
how have we never heard of this guy from Brandon Kroll, Matt?
I don't know.
Brandon, I know we've talked a little bit about this, but I think he just lumps the Masons into the Masons. You know what I mean? I don't know that he wants to know a ton more about that because he's not a lover of that whole order. I could see him skipping.
Yeah. He's very
situation.
knowledgeable on like all the
for sure.
Kabbalistic Masonic Jewish stuff, you know.
And this order goes way back. Actually, the founders of this, I did an episode on this on my channel, but it barely skims the surface. But this all came from the Cagliostro rites, and then we bring in Haiti, and like one guy, this order of St. Martin, like one guy didn't want to do any of the woo-woo stuff because he got scared. I think he saw something like that freaked him out, and he's like, no, this should be called the Order of the Heart. We should just like have it in our heart, never do it again, because I think it like freaked him out. And the other guy's like, no way, we should be metal and like definitely talk to the angels. So, you know, they kind of fought about it, but it's all over the place there. They're still Martinists to this day. Ike Baker is a self-proclaimed Martinist. So it's still out there. I mean, it didn't die off. It's like a very old order. And this is just, I thought this was funny, so I put this in here because BYU has a copy of the Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon, just in case you're wanting to go
Do
find
they
it.
really?
Yes. I thought that was so funny. But here we're talking about, you know, they're definitely channeling some things. And if we weren't for sure before, I present you with the Smith family parchments. So this is a parchment that was found in the cell with them dead, and they're like, no, it was his, or it's his. But here's the thing about this type of magic. It's really specific to like birthdays and your sign and how it is. I mean, way more than just like you're a Leo. Like this is serious. Like this has like which moon and phases and like I don't know, but it's very specific to people. Okay. And Joseph was always speaking about being ruled by Jupiter and all these different things. And a lot of this stuff is leaned toward his birth time. So I just don't buy the fact that it was Hiram, even though Hiram did have a better education than Joseph. Joseph is more mystical. He was the one that was, you know, the seer. And so I don't know. Right?
This is blowing my mind right now.
And this little sign right here is what blew the whole thing open for me, because I didn't know what it was. And I was trying to decipher everything. And so I was like, well, what is this? And we can see Templar crosses in here. And just because you see the name Jehovah does not mean this is about like Jesus.
Yeah, it's written all over it, Jehovah.
Yeah. And you're going to see the tetragrammaton. You're going to see all kinds of different names. And what they would do when they're doing these spells to protect themselves, like you said, is they would chuck every single name they knew of at this so they could be more protected. So also you'll notice it's in a spiral and it's coming inward, like inward to that sigil. So it's charging it, right? Like it's pulling from the above down into the sigil, and it also has a ring around it, which means it's a closed system and it's forceful. These angels, when you do this to them, if they're angels, demons, whatever you're channeling at that moment, if you do this, the reason why you need protection is because they get pissed. Like they're just up there in their way better home, like way above, and
taking a nap, and then you get woken up from your nap.
Yeah, they're not happy and they don't like you. Like I always tell people, if you think angels like you are crazy. Even the ones that are sent to protect us by God, they will, because they are militant. They will do whatever God says to do. Doesn't mean they like it.
They're lesser than us to God in God's eyes. And I've always thought that too. I'm like, dude, these guys probably don't like us. They're just like, oh, here we got to go take care
of the idiots again.
Yeah, we're the crappy little brother that came like after the fact.
Yeah, 20 years down the road, they're like, oh, they obviously screwed up us, so they had another baby.
Well, and that's the whole thing about Lucifer, right? He wasn't going to kneel to this crap creation. And so when we look at this stuff, you know, yes, you're going to see, like I said, tetragrammaton, Jehovah, different things. Doesn't mean it's holy, guys. There's pentagrams on here and pentacles on here. And
did you ever run into this stuff? Like when?
Oh, no.
When did you?
No.
Okay.
This is top elite This is like the most elite part of Mormonism. And what they did is they had a reorganization of the church under Brigham Young. And basically what happened was he got rid of all the magic-y stuff because he was going to be a businessman regardless. And even worse, some of his successors like Heber J. Grant. And so when we're looking at this, we're seeing this very magical woo-woo, startup. And then we're all of a sudden cutting off our hair and looking like the CIA. And then we became the CIA. Right. And so, it was fixed underneath Brigham because also he was sick of losing everything. He was sick and tired of it.
You remember that crappy Channing Tatum movie, Jupiter Ascending?
Oh yeah. No, it is. No,
I wonder if that has like Mormon symbolism.
There's so much symbolism, and not only that one, but the one with the girl that was pregnant. What was that one called? I'll think of it in a minute, but there's a whole bunch of them. All of this is, and it isn't Mormonism. Mormonism hijacked this stuff. This is old. This is old magic. This is Babylon. This is like literally I put into Grok, like, what is the closest ceremony to the LDS temple ceremony? And they're like, yeah, it's Babylonian. And I'm like, perfect. So
okay, I got one question before we stray too far from the old stuff. When you were talking about Joseph Smith in Massachusetts, did he ever go to Utah?
He did not make it to Utah, but he certainly made it to Salem.
Okay.
He went there on a little visit, and his uncle was there, and some of his family still was there, and it was documented in his mother's book that he went to Salem to visit his uncle. Another flex. She was smart.
So
and we're not headed out.
You call it the mothership or the hub in Utah where you're at. But does anybody say anything like that about Massachusetts or Salem then?
They don't even talk about Massachusetts. They say he was not from there. They talk about Palmyra. Yeah. And so, in fact, they have like a mecca of where he supposedly found these plates, which was a mound, by the way, the Hill Cumorah. And I'm just saying, I will make a presentation soon about the Hill Cumorah and the mounds and all this with it, because it's absolutely it relates, But when we're talking about this stuff, they even said in the Hill Cumorah that there was a cave there that they were doing woo-woo stuff there in the middle of the night. So whatever, they were doing it then too. And when we talk about, crappy little brother, this is Raphael. This is all deciphered at the bottom, and I'm not going to go through each one. But notice again, here is an open, this doesn't have a closed, see how there's gaps in it. It doesn't have a closed binding. That's because he had a working relationship with this. And people will say, well, look, it's Raphael. That's a good angel. Listen, people need to read Dr. John Dee. And the reason why I get so much flack from everybody being not Christian enough for the Christians and not occulty enough for the occultists, right? Because I love me some Jesus from Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth. I like to be specific because we're talking about all kinds of Jesuses and weird stuff.
Amen.
Yeah. So I'm talking about Jesus, the Nazarene, right? And I like to tell people, look, you look at this stuff and you hear these stories and you see these things about angels. If you read John Dee, he'll talk to you about some angels. And guess what he'll say at the end? They were liars. They lied and they tricked me. And then he's swapping wives and weird shit's happening. And then we could do another one like Crowley and AWAS. And what happens? He meets this thing. He doesn't call it an angel. He just says it's AWAS, right? And what does it want him to do? Oh, it wants him to write a book. Okay, so he does. He writes the book of the law and it becomes the Lema. We can do that with John Dee, and it became many religions. They wrote so much information. They worked on that for 8 years, and it became many religions. We could do Muhammad. And at the end of each one of these things and each one of these people, like Babylon Workings and Parsons and, Scientology, boom, all of them end up doing something weird sexually. It's either polygamy or polyandry or all of the things or whatever it is, 9-year-old brides.
Banging your friend's girl, right? That's what like Jack Parsons and Crowley did. They were all just sharing the same girls.
Yep. And when we talk about that, do you really think that was sent from God? Like at this point in the venture, even if you were trying to be on the right path, you might want to question things, right? Before you end up raising your friend's kid, because that's what happened to John Dee. So he raised Edward Kelly's son until the day he was not here anymore, so there's consequences for actions. And when we're talking about all this magic, there are certainly consequences. So again, these are just to show that these definitely come from specific books, and they talk about that he's invoking. And so, he had to have seen these books. This is Sibley's Book of Witchcraft or the Magus, whichever one you want to pick, Lesser Keys of Solomon. I don't care. And when we see all these different things that he's working with, and I just put them in here so people can go back and kind of look at them, right? It's interesting. Those are in the wrong spot. It's interesting to me for people to look at it and still be able to say, well, that wasn't true. Well, I'm showing you it was true. I'm showing you this was found there. I'm showing you what it was, but it's still a problem, right? So for this next piece, let's see. Let me turn down.
There's a lot of as above, so below, like symbolism to it.
Absolutely, there is. And we are going to talk about absolutely that. And I'm going to show you this clip now, just before people come at me with this. This is a reenactment. It's a very tiny sliver of what happens in the temple, but I just want you to get a feel for how it is. This is a little piece of a temple reenactment, and I can tell you it is accurate. I'll tell you the parts that aren't. Oh, except it's apparently not going to start. Hold on. I hope it didn't move. There it is.
I'm surprised how quick.
What you are seeing is an authentic first time ever on film reenactment of secret Mormon temple ceremonies that even most Mormons have never seen. And those who have sworn never to reveal these secrets under penalty of death.
The execution of the penalty is represented by placing the right thumb under the left ear, drawing the thumb quickly across the throat to the right ear, and dropping the hand to the side.
All of us who've been through the temple have sworn solemn oaths consenting to having our throat slit and our heart and our vitals torn out.
The execution of the penalty is represented by drawing the thumb quickly across the body and dropping the hands to the side.
In the Mormon temple marriage, the partners are sealed to each other for time and all eternity in Mason-like rituals. And without this ceremony, no one can enter the presence of Joseph Smith and become a god.
Pay, lay, ale. Brother Pratt, having authority, I wash you preparatory to receiving your anointings for and in behalf of John Kimball, who is dead, that you may become clean from the blood and sins of this generation.
Sister Bradford, I wash you preparatory to you receiving your anointings for and behalf of
Eliza Barrett.
Eliza Barrett, who is dead, that you may become clean from the blood and sins of this generation.
I wash your head, that your brain and intellect may become clear and active.
Your eyes, that you may see clearly and discern between truth and error.
Thousands of occultic ceremonies each day are performed for the dead, so that they too can receive the benefits of Mormonism. Mormons are encouraged to have encounters with the dead, and it's not uncommon for demons impersonating the dead to appear to Mormons stating that they've been converted to the Mormon church in the spirit world and now want their family history traced.
Your loins, that you may be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, that you may have joy in your posterity.
Your vitals and bowels, that they may be strong and healthy and perform their proper function.
Your breast, that it may be the receptacle of pure and virtuous principles.
And everybody gets that?
This was a barely tiny snippet of a 2-hour situation. And I will say it makes it seem like she cupped her boob, and she totally didn't. She like went above that basically. And so, yeah, it's not that. And I do like to make it as clear as possible so that people don't say, oh, you're making it worse than it is, but it's already bad enough. So we don't really have to, do that.
That's a culty though.
Oh, it's not.
Definitely.
Yeah, not culty at all. Right. And it gets worse because, like I said, that's only a snippet of what happens. This is a 2-hour ceremony, and this only happens to you. And this is why I speak out on this. And people get pissed because they're like, that's sacred, not secret, and all this stuff. I'm like, listen, if they would stop lying to people And they would say this, just like the OTO or Masons or anything, like, hey, you're going to be doing some weird stuff. And, we can't tell you what that weird stuff is, but it's going to get weird. I think people would be better prepared. Also, they would know they're going to be a Mason, not like I didn't know I was a Mason. I didn't even know what a Mason was, but apparently I was, because you're doing all this weird Masonic stuff. And that's unfair. It's unfair. And remember how I talked to you about how they're pulling energy down to that sigil, right? And they're charging the house. Funny enough, even if you go to the U of U to a football game, my son got completely flipped out because he's like, Mom, they're doing this weird stuff. And I didn't stand up and participate because he's smart, because I've taught him. And he's like, but they were doing all this weird stuff and they called it charging the house. And I was like, right. And he's like, yeah, it seemed really occultic. And then they lit something on fire and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, don't do that. And he's like, no, I didn't. And I was like, good kid.
Imagine that energy of that when there's, 37,000 people that are in the University of Utah Stadium.
So yeah, and they get crazy with their stuff and it's fun. But like, honestly, like, we don't always think about the things that they tell us to do, like raise your hands, yay, yell this out, blah. And so it's kind of the same thing when you're here at this point, because remember, this is supposed to be the best day of your life. Like, this is everything you've ever waited for. Now you're going to, have all the keys to go to heaven. That's what they tell you it's about. It's not. And, the Masons do very similar stuff. The Gnostic Mass does very similar stuff. Even, devil worship stuff, their temple ceremony is similar. So why are they telling us it's to go to heaven? Like, be honest, and maybe I'll shut up, but that's only a maybe.
When do you get to do this? Is there like a communion like Catholics or something?
They don't tell you anything until you are actually going and in there, and they give you one time to leave. And they're like, you can get up if you want to right now. And everybody's there with you, like your whole entire family. This is a big deal. Sure. And it either happens when you're going on your mission at 18 or you're getting married. And that's the only time it happens. And so, yeah, you're already overwhelmed. And like, if you didn't do it and your wife is Mormon and she's doing it, then what do you do? Like, or, you're going to go on your mission. You can't go on your mission unless you do it. Like, there's a lot of pressure here. Like, people always say, well, that's stupid if you didn't feel comfortable, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. I'm not getting up in the middle of my whole family and leaving at this point. No way.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't let you.
And yes, they do allow it, but because it's before it gets real crazy, like with all this. But also when I was like tearing up because you get naked and you put this poncho thing on, like the lady had on, and it's open on the sides and they just touch above and on your inner thigh and stuff above your belly button. Like, it's not perverted. Okay. But it's weird. It's weird. People also was like very uncomfortable about being naked. I went in the 90s and my great grandma said, you quit your crying and sniveling. I was naked in a bathtub. And I thought she was kidding all this time until I talked to a Mason, and he's like, as it should be. And I about died. I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, grandma, that was a lot. But you learn these shakes and all this Masonic stuff. Well, okay, you do that for knowledge as a Mason, but here you're doing it literally to get to heaven. They say if you don't remember these and you have to keep coming back time and time again, but only the first time is for yourself. And every time after that is for a dead person. We'll get to that in a minute. But you're getting all these handshakes to pass by the angels and sentinels guarding the gates of heaven. And if you don't know these, you're not going. And so you have to get them in your head, and the only way to get it in your head is repetition. So they want you to go all the time, preferably at least twice a month for the rest of your life. And so every time after the first time, you go the first time, you do it for yourself, you get a new name. I thought I was special until like I found out everybody that goes that day and is a girl got the same name. That was fun. And the guys too. And you go to the veil. There's like a real veil, like the whole thing is like, and I guess they've changed the veil over her face now. She doesn't have to veil her face because she wasn't pure enough, because she doesn't have the priesthood to be there. This is called the True Order of Prayer. And they're in this circle with their hands to square. And then they start chanting. Right here, this is real. Somebody snuck in with the Google glasses, new name Noah, shout out you're my hero. And he put all this shit on blast. He was like, this is weird and I don't like it, and here you go. And I was like, oh, I remember when it came out and I was like, oh my gosh, he is going to be murdered. Like blood atonement has been reinstated, right? Like I was like, oh,
they look like they're like Indian almost in their garments.
Well, so what they're wearing is women wear a dress and men wear a suit, and then they wear a one-breasted robe. That should sound familiar. The Gnostic mass people don't wear clothes underneath it, but we look a little weirder because we wear a lot of things underneath it, like our magic underwear and then regular clothes and then the stuff over. It's a lot of things, but at least they're not naked. I mean, that would be worse. But when you're doing these symbols, he's very purposely holding his hand like this, right? And I'm going to show you this next slide. Now, it is a Crowley slide, and Crowley was far after Joseph, but you have to understand, so was this magic way before Joseph, right? So when we're talking about chaos magic, Typhonian magic, chaos magic, this is Typhon. So they are literally raising their hand up and down, chanting like around a book. So I'm just going to give you a heads up on this. If anybody ever says, I'm a Mormon and I want to pray for you, can I put your name on the temple list? That's what they're going to do around it. They're going to put your name right here in the middle, okay, and chant and do all this weird crap around it. I would probably pass if it were me. You know, anybody can do whatever they want, but yeah, I always say respectfully, no, do not, because then even if they do it, you've said no. So yeah, I don't do that anymore, and it pisses people off that I know. So there's the book, like I described. So again, they've changed some things. Now people don't have to get in the naked poncho because people like me were upset and cried. And now they wear baptism outfits, you know, the zip all the way up and stuff. So, and that's nice, but also the FLDS do it better. So here's the thing. The FLDS don't care about anything else. They do what God said, because this was supposed to be revealed from God to Joseph, and that was what it was. So if you really were given this from God, do you think you should change it? Or should we be scrubbed naked in the bathtub? Right? So there's this whole issue, and they're not even practicing the Mormonism correctly anymore, right? Like this is all wrong. And so both ways, it's a little scary because
did Joseph Smith write any of that stuff in his symbolism that he was seeing? He stole it, and I kind of feel like that's why they killed him. The Masons were not amused with this because here's the deal. Mormonism is Masonry for the whole family, even though I didn't know that. And yeah, he let girls in, you know, and that really pissed them off. I think not only whole family.
Right. Yes. And so that's definitely not good. And these are our Masonic underwear, which here's the thing. I didn't even know what a Mason was, and I wore these forever. So if that doesn't tell you the indoctrination and why the CIA likes Mormons, because half of the brainwashing is done.
What's up with the underwear on the dude?
Okay. Oh yeah, both. Okay. So this underwear.
So you don't break it, dude.
Everything seems like I said Indian, but now that I'm thinking about it and what you were talking about earlier,
right?
It all does have like the Egyptian flair to it.
It
looks like Egyptian, like a white guy, or the white thing they wrap around them, you know, like a diaper almost.
Well, and also, have you ever seen the Jewish prayer ones? The really serious Jewish people with the ringlets. I can't remember their name right now. I'm sorry. I'll think of it in a minute, but they wear something kind of similar-esque underneath their clothes as well. So all of this screams backward, right, to magic, because we're talking Kabbalah and different things, and everybody's skewed it their own way. But here's the thing. Yeah, nobody's crotch is this long. Look at the girl. She's got a 3-inch gap too down. It was the worst days of my life, I have to tell you, but that's not why I left. It was just super uncomfy. This is what they started as right here. And so used to have the poop shoot and everything. And then it
pajamas.
It got the
missing the footies.
And back then, you know how this part's metal kind of. So back then they used to do the marks by cutting them. So you would like kneel, and where you were kneeling, they would like cut a hole, and you would go home and sew that up. So that would be the mark, right? Because that's the line. And Joseph's wife was like, no, I'm not getting my legs cut up. That is not happening. So they started just sewing them in. Like nobody needs to cut them. And she definitely wasn't going to show or scar her boobs. Like, come on. Yeah, no. But often I wonder one thing. And since you guys are Christian, I can tell you this, but like, and people will make fun of me. They do it anyway. This is all over orifices that are open, right? Like, you ever think about that? There's openings in nipples. There's opening at belly button. I often wonder if there is a symbol there and we just don't know about it. And after these wear out, because you have lots of pairs of these are your underwear. They have to go closest to your body. You have to keep them on at all times. Even if you're sleeping or anything, you wear these unless a few things. You can go swimming. And so obviously you would take them off. When you shower, but my great grandparents, they used to keep one leg in and one arm in and like hang it out of the shower and then turn and put like the clean one. I don't even know. I'm just visualizing what they told me. And I'm like, this seems wild, but okay. They got looser on that. Thank heavens. And then making more Mormons, right? That's a fun time. They know how to do that. They all got like 6 kids, but also you have to put them right back on as soon as that is over. And when else? The gym. You can take them off to go to the gym because they don't want them hanging out or anything. They don't want them exposed so people can't see. And they do have colored ones for Army and police officers. So they get like black ones and stuff that are cool so they can blend in. But when they're actually worn out, you have to cut these symbols out and burn them because that's Christian. I think so. No, I don't.
What?
Yeah,
you don't have to. Yeah, no Christians have to do any more rituals. That was why Jesus was on there.
It always hung on the cross because people will come at me with that and they'll say that.
Why want to be in control of the underwear?
Well, and here's the thing. You want to know why I think 2 things. First, the magical property, if we're talking about Joseph. Why did they continue it after Joseph? Because if you can control someone's underwear, you can probably control anything they do, to be honest. Honestly, if you're at that level where you're like, I'm even going to let you pick my underwear. I mean, like, yeah. And this is how they look now for women. This came out. This is hot new on the presses. I never thought they would change it. And in the summer, they did change. I think it was this summer. Anyway, they just recently changed it. And this is scandalous. We used to could not show our shoulders. So now we can. Haha, I'm out, but I still say we. And then they also are dressed. So I think that's nice because elderly women were getting problems from never, ever having air. Okay. Even if you change them, even if they're clean, even if everything's clean, that's a problem. I'm a nurse. That's a problem. So, yeah. So I think they did that for the health and welfare of the women, or I'd like to think so. Maybe. This is not a Masonic handshake. This is a Skull and Bones handshake. And this is Baby Bush. And Thomas S. Monson, he used to be a prophet of the church, prophet, seer, and revelator of the church. And they shared this little, handshake. I guess they thought no one was looking.
They were doing that in that drawing you just showed. Like everybody in a circle was holding the other person's hand with
that was a little bit different one.
Handshake.
Yep. Oh yeah, it gets very
goes on
weird.
to like them having their hands like that. That's.
Oh yeah. And then when we're talking about the marriages, that's a little bit separate situation. So when you get married in the temple for time and all eternity, what does God say in the Bible about marriage? Do you guys know?
A union between a man and a woman.
But after we die, it stops. We'll be as the angels and we won't need it anymore. But not the Mormons. They figured it out. Apparently, if you do this and get a portal of mirrors, it's not really a portal, or is it? I don't know. But this green at the end is very interesting as well. It happens in every single photo of this. And so people will say I'm crazy, but look. This is my friend Jen told me this. And he's like, that's very Kabbalistic in nature. And yes, mirrors can be portals. In fact, if you guys want to do a deep dive on witchcraft and mirrors, it's a fun one. And I mean, people can say I'm mentally unhinged or I hate the church or blah, blah. It's none of those things. I'm just literally trying to show people stuff and they're like, that's not true. I've never seen that. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't mean it's not true. Yeah. Oh, no. It likes to do that to me and I've got to figure out why. Like, I think my button on here is not right. So this is how it looks. You kneel over this altar, and the people that are worthy to be in there to watch you get married are there, but nobody else. Too bad. You have to wait outside. It doesn't matter if it's your mom or dad or whoever, or if they're going to die. It doesn't matter. They can't come to your wedding. No. And so you also don't get married in your wedding clothes. You get married in those crazy outfits I showed you, with the fig leaf apron and all the things. Yeah, that's how they roll. So you can put on your outfit after and pretend like you wore it in there and came out and like, woo, but yeah, no, we're not doing that. And so I often postulate, and this is just my thoughts. I mean, you play, dumb things as a child. I didn't do this one, but I know kids do, like Bloody Mary, and these things all have like a mirror or water or whatever, right? Reflection stuff. And this isn't new. This is super old. So what if, let's just think about like, why would they do this, right? Remember, you're going to do this for dead people. You're only going to do this once for yourself. Then you're going to marry dead people. And I that day say, I'm doing it for Mary. I am Mary. I'm not doing it for Mary. I am the proxy for Mary. I am Mary in the flesh, because she didn't get her stuff done. So I have to do it for her, because that is my job now. And you don't know what kind of a complex you get being like, I am saving people's souls.
Yes.
Okay. And then on top of it, we'll get to the second anointing, but like this does cause issues, trust me. And so people will say it doesn't, but it does. I'm sorry. Like it just, how could it not, and why would you want to give it up then? If you're like, I am hella important, like, look at me. I am, Molly the Mormon. Yeah.
Everybody.
And,
saving everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing this for dead people, and then you're in this temple that has oftentimes some weird symbolism on it. This is an old temple. I think it's great when we show the old temples because, they didn't take it off yet. And this was, yeah, well, and it's upside down, and a pentacle, and it's upside down. And don't forget what we spoke about with the whole locking thing. Does this not look like a sigil here with this lock around that pentacle?
Wow.
And it also resembles Baphomet, right? And so when we're looking at this, and look, there's other benevolent reasons, and Baphomet isn't necessarily okay. I know, I've read all the literature, I get it, but also there are things in this world that we know pierce ethers. We know this, and even occultists know this. Why would they do it otherwise, right? Like Steiner talks about this, and he wasn't even necessarily evil, and John Dee wasn't necessarily evil, but we know this stuff happens. It just does. And so if this is what I think it is, and they're charging up with these ceremonies, because why the hell would they want these? I'm going to call them porch Mormons, okay, instead of porch Masons, right? They need all these people there to make it look like legit. And also, if they can get them to do the ceremonies that they need to charge the house, remember, we're talking about charging the house. What do you get from necromancy? Well, if you look it up on Grok or anything, it will tell you. And it says necromancy is used to see the future, to reveal things and know things. Wait, what was our prophet called again? Prophet, seer, and revelator. Right. So are they charging his house? Like, are they charging his knowledge? Are they trading that for certain things materialistically, where they're one of the richest churches in the world? Like, makes you wonder. I mean, it's fun, right? But what if, because this is a calling down and locking in, but this is sending them where? It ain't up.
Yeah, out.
It's down. It's straight down.
And you're absorbing all the energy from everybody in there who's not, like, they're not trying to get it. They don't know, so essentially the one guy or two guys in there, now they no longer have to divvy up just them trying to charge anything. They're like, no, we got 800 people in here right now who did it for us without knowing.
Yep. You're catching on. And to your point about the Egyptian stuff, I wanted to show you this. I don't always present this slide because not everybody cares, but here's the thing. These characters here, and I'm going to zoom in on it if my computer doesn't go crazy. Okay. So those bottom characters are actual piece that was given to a guy, to the Anton manuscript is what this is called, to basically say this is real. Okay. That it was authentic, that it was old. He was like some rare book linguist guy, whatever. And then the guy that took it to him, Martin Harris, the dumb guy in the South Park video for Mormons, remember when they're like dumb to dumb, and his wife was smart. He took that to this guy, and then the guy said, hey, but where'd you get it though? And then he told him about the angels, and he's like, you need to leave. And so it was kind of funny. And then he's like, but I need my paper back. And the guy's like, no, you can't have your paper. Get out. Like, don't talk to me about your dumb table tapping.
Don't ever come back here.
Yeah, we'll have you arrested type such. So if you look at the characters that are very similar, this above is the Enochian alphabet. Also, since I've made this slide, it was pointed out to me that the Micmac have a very similar also representation, but they did call this Reformed Egyptian. And here's the thing, whenever you're talking about symbolism, and I mean, even John Dee, when they got their, whole Enochian alphabet, what did they say? The angels said, we can't even give it to you forwards. We have to give it to you backwards because it'll like blow up the world. Right. And so whenever we're talking
some
about
sort of divine language that they spoke in that was dangerous. Yep.
Yeah. And it's super powerful. So we're talking about serious stuff. Like people are like, oh, the Mormons are harmless and they're super nice and kind and wonderful. And they are. That's the porch Mormons. Yes, 100% they are. But what about the rest? What's happening when absolute power corrupts absolutely? That's where we get into. That's the problem with any religion. It's not just the Mormons. I just pick on them because I was one and I got lied to and I'm pissed off like any girl. Yeah. Like, you lie to her, you're going to have a problem. Like, that's just how it is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I've been thinking it the whole episode. I'm like, well, this is every religion that's lied.
Right. Yeah. And I've had people on to talk about the Catholics. I've had a Jehovah's Witness on. We talked about. So, I'm not just picking on one. This is just the only one I know this much about. I mean, I've had on guests to speak about others, but it's all religion. And what do they want ultimately? Like, what is the damn point? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Control.
New World Order stuff. And what does the New World Order want? They want a one world religion. Now, I want to propose something after I tell you the story about this, and we are almost done. So I know I've kept you captive. But
it's absolutely awesome.
Oh,
yes,
good.
I can sit here all night.
Okay, I feel bad sometimes. And so this picture is very interesting. If you notice, he's holding, St. Peter's key, right? And we know about the keys to the kingdom since you brought up, other religions. And this is, obviously with Catholics. He's there for this photo op, and I wonder why he's there. Well, they finished finally able to build right down the street from the Vatican. And they were given this right in 2017, and it was done pretty quietly. And they've never, ever been allowed to do it before because the church was just like, no, get away from us, you peasant. Like, we're the Catholics,
Dude, he is as risky as Joseph Smith's mother.
Right.
With this stuff, like going to the Catholic Church and holding on to
But they said yes.
key.
No, they let him. No, they
This is the same guy that was looking
him.
in the hat earlier, right?
That's crazy.
And not only did they sanction him, but they let him have that property, like let him buy it, where they've never allowed that before. Now, if I were going to create a one world religion, I would say I would model it after something I already knew. And you know what that would be? Well, if you're a Mason, you don't have to pick a religion. You only have to believe in a higher power. And it doesn't have to be my God, your God, their God. It can be all the gods, right? You just can't be an atheist. You have to believe in something. And so, you have to understand that when the church came here and became, running away, and they're running from, the world, and they were part of Mexico, and now they're going to be here, blah, 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 this story, right? Well, right after that, Brigham Young helps the government that he hated, right? Supposedly, right? They're torturing him and blah, blah, blah. So he lets them talk to him about finishing the railroad, and they do. And why would he use his good saints and their backs and their backbreaking labor to do that? Right? Because most of them didn't even get paid. So why would that be allowed if he was really afraid? That seems weird. That seems weird to me. And not only he, but many others after that, such as, I can't find the guy who it is. I'll find the name later. It's like Godby, I think is the last name. He and I think it was the next one after Brigham, but don't quote me on that. Heber J. Grant becomes the president of the church. Okay. And his godfather was this guy, Godby. And his mother worked for Godby. And he becomes, well, he was an occultist and he was a known occultist, like table tapper and everything, seance, the whole 9 yards. He didn't even hide it. He was like, yep, I'm all about it, all about that action. And so, he was basically raised by this occultist, excommunicated ex-Mormon because they threw him out. And when he died, he said, I never knew a man as good as him, even though he knew the next prophet of the church, like all these things, right? So he knew some pretty good Mormons, but he still thought this excommunicated guy was like seriously better. And the one thing that Heber J. Grant always wanted to be in his whole life, he did not want to be the prophet of the church. He did not want anything to do with the church. He wanted to be a businessman. And the one thing that he was able to bring through Godby, I'm not sure how to say his name, was the Federal Reserve. And they brought a branch here to Utah. And after that time frame, Utah was playing ball. And not only is the LDS church a thing, but the LDS church is LDS Inc. And when we talk about this is super important. So we know that they're one of the richest churches in the world. And, symbolism just might work because this sign here looks kind of like this sign to me. Mm-hmm. If you look at the intricate weaving, okay, all of it, the only thing that's missing is this symbol in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. And that is the sigil of Mammon. And Mammon is over money. And one thing about Mammon and money magic that I love to share with everybody is they often say if you give something blue, that you'll get tenfold in return. Okay. So the Book of Mormons, at least what they used to be, maybe they've changed it. They were always blue. And what did they get back? 10% of your finances. And when you talk about giving with the Mormon church, it's not just give from your heart and, with a smile on your face. You go to something called tithing settlement and you go sit down with your taxes and you go talk to your bishop and they make sure that you paid 10% entirety and that you did it on your gross. And if you're short, you need to make
on
it
your
up.
gross too.
Mm-hmm.
Do they adjust for inflation? Damn.
And also, if you don't do it, you don't get to go to the temple, which is very important. And one of the last things I'll say with money ties is this. Well, I like to do a fun trivia. Do you know who owns the most farmland in America?
Isn't it Bill Gates?
Yes. Do you know who number 2 is? I do. It's the Mormon Church.
The Mormon Church.
And do you know in the portfolio of the Mormon Church who their number 1 person is? It's Microsoft. Don't tell me they don't work together. I mean, if anything's clear to me, it is that. And remember how I mentioned the genealogy stuff and how it got started through Howard Hughes and Howard Hughes Dynamics. And they're the ones that computerized it all. Not Howard Hughes himself, but the guy named Gay, his last name was Gay, underneath Howard. And he did this through Hughes Dynamics. Well, where did he get the information? I know. Got it from the CIA. And he also got it from IBM because IBM was the ones making the punch cards for the Holocaust. And why were they able to get that? Well, some people did them a solid. And one of those people were on the board of IBM, but never worked for IBM because they'll clearly tell you that if you try to look it up. And that would be Bill Gates' mom. What? So, yeah, when we talk about rich people or fancy people, much like Elon Musk here, you'll always find a Mormon, maybe 2 steps behind them, definitely involved in their empire, such as Jared Birchall, the person that is Elon Musk's money guy. So I find that very interesting that they met at the boring company digging tunnels. He's not qualified to have that job, by the way. And I find that super interesting when we're talking about all this stuff. This is all one big hierarchy. It's, who you know, not what you know. And basically, I mean, it's a big fraternity, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that blew my mind. Okay. The Mormons behind everything right there is kind of what you showed, which is a little wild, you know? And it's not so much, I guess they're just calling themselves the Mormons, but like you exposed kind of there, it's more than that. It's
not,
older
yeah.
than that. It's stolen kind of from that.
And the normal people don't know anything about this. Like if you went and talked to like my aunt or somebody, she would know this stuff. Like she would know about what they do in the temple, but they think they're going to heaven. That's
yeah, like you said, they don't tell you any of it. They just I don't want to let you go yet because
no, you're good.
We have when we have these guests of stuff that have like left the faith, I get comments that I do a bad job of getting the story of like, now tell me how you came to Jesus, you know?
You bet. Yeah, no problem. That's the best part of it all, because this really wasn't a job I wanted. Like I was going through a really tough time in 2020, and I was waking up and finding out all this weird stuff like about building 7 and weird stuff. I mean, just things you just don't believe, right? Like and I was like, well, is there anything real? Like you kind of have this crisis, and you know,
start asking questions about everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad. And that's why I started
and you end up with a whole podcast.
And then you're like, what happened? And so I really don't know too many people like other than my immediate family and stuff. I have 6 kids. We were always really busy and dance and hockey and blah, 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 blah. And so we just never had time for that. And so as I'm falling down the rabbit hole, right, 2020 pops off and that whole thing. And I didn't do that. And so then, you know, I started really questioning everything when the prophet of the church came out and said, be a good global citizen and make sure you get the cure. So
they said that.
Yes. Good global citizen was the wordage. So
man, Jesus would hate to hear that.
Yeah, that ticked a lot of people off. And, you know, then on top of it, you know, you start finding out all these weird things. And then my daughter met this guy, and there's a really weird story with it. And I don't know if you've ever heard my Minerva story, but it's long. And I basically lost my oldest daughter because she got married to this very important guy that hates us. He's met us like 2 times. I kind of feel like he's a Mason, but he's a pilot. And I only say I think he's a Mason because I was spouting off about Masons at the dinner table, just, you know, sharing my craziness at this time. Cause you're crazy like that at first. You're telling everyone like, you know, this and blah, blah, blah. And I was just going off. And next thing I know, I'm unworthy. I'm a toxic narcissist and a horrible person. Okay. So I was very close to my daughter her entire life. And next thing you know, like I'm uninvited to the wedding, like don't show up, we'll have you arrested, banned on Facebook, banned on everything. And so I really get depressed. Wow. And I start like really diving into the Bible because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like my brother had died a couple of years before that. Like all this stuff is happening and I'm just having kind of my own little crisis here. And while I'm learning about God and just the Bible and journaling and praying, and I just call it coffee with God, right? Like in the morning, just delve into it and really try hard to just have a real relationship with God. And no religion, none of that. And as I'm crying and just upset and not really wanting to be here, but like, no, I need to be here, but not like I was going to do anything. But it was just this weird, you know, time in my life. And I had these other kids, you know, and so you can't not be here. And I wouldn't want to really not be here, but, you know, I was that depressed. And so at this point, I tell God, I will do anything. And then I get this weird feeling. And I'd been listening to a lot of like Christian podcasts because I'm trying to help myself here. And I feel like I should start a podcast. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of because I only know like 3 people and 2 people don't like me. So like, that's dumb, you know, like who's going to even listen? Like this is stupid. And I don't know how to run the computer, you know, and I can't even upload any. It's all stupid. And I cried.
It's like, where do I start?
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. And I'm a good talker, but I didn't know anything about like how to market or do it. I didn't know anything. And I don't have an editor to this day. I don't have anything. I'm just on my own. And, you know, my husband kept saying, well, why not? You know, I mean, what could have hurt? Well, then I get hurt in the meantime. and I bust my back, and then I get like an infection in my spine, just like Joseph's leg, but in my spinal cord. I get osteomyelitis in my spinal cord, and I almost died, and I had to have a PICC line. And it's always dramatic with me. Like, it's so stupid. And I'm always just like, this is probably nothing. And then you go in and you're like, holy crap, this is all this? Like, no, this can't be real. So again, I get this feeling like you should do this. And I'm like, clearly you don't see I'm all messed up. Like, don't have time for that, and I'm getting better. And I still am having this constant prompting, like, you really should do that. I'm still, studying and everything. I'm doing all that. And I'm really hoping, like, at this point, it's for my daughter to come home, but that's not how God works either. Right. Like, you have to do it and you have to have faith, but sometimes it's not even fulfilled in this lifetime. And I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was like my Job time, right? Like, Job lost all his kids in one day though, and it wasn't that bad. So, we changed our life a lot. We really got close to God, and I got rebaptized, and I started really seeking out things like in my house that weren't of God, like getting rid of old stuff. I didn't get baptized into any religion. I got baptized in a reservoir in the middle of the mountains, okay, by just a guy. And he did it for my whole family. And there was an earthquake. There was an earthquake right after. But I feel like, this was critical for me and my family, because all of my kids, all of my posterity, everyone is out. Even the daughter that doesn't speak to me, she's out too. And so, I mean, it probably was critical. Like, think of the people we saved, all the way down to children that aren't even born yet, and that's amazing to me. And as I started this podcast, I really had this spirit to want to help people. I always have wanted to help people. And people always say, why do you care about other people and what they believe? Just leave them alone. And I'm like, yeah, but if you really loved somebody, would you do that? Would you just let them walk off the cliff? Like, you're fine about it. Like, just, she wants to, so just let him go, and I don't think that's love, the one thing,
fight tooth and nail.
Yeah. The one thing you mentioned specifically is everything was hung on the cross, right? But he did say one thing that was left. Do you remember what it was?
Let's see here. He said Psalm 22 while he was on the cross.
To be the salt and the light of the earth.
And love one another.
Love.
Right?
Yeah,
love one another.
Yeah,
Is that love? Like, would you really not help someone? I'm not the kind of person that can walk over a homeless person, like throwing up on the street. Like, I'm just not built like that. Okay. And so, that's why I'm a nurse, and that's why I'm a good nurse, because I really do care about people. And I think back and think, man, if somebody had told me some of this stuff back then, even if it wouldn't have mattered, would it have? Would it have made my mind different? Would it have saved me some pain? Would it, the thing is about the Mormon churches, they tell people they can earn their way to heaven, and you never feel good enough. Not ever, because it's filthy rags. It's not really designed that way. Okay. And so you literally have the highest amounts of depression in Utah of almost anywhere, and overdoses and drug abuse and all this horrible stuff. Right. And porn addiction, because these people don't have a true basis of, and I'm not saying you can't get a testimony on your own, you can, but for the most part, I would say they think it's works, and you feel like dirt because you can't ever be good enough, and it's impossible. And that's why Jesus died for us. Like, that's the whole point, because he knew it. He knew that. He knew it was impossible. Yeah. And so we were lucky enough for that. And I always think, what, if I saved one person and I'm humiliated, or I'm crazy, or I'm stupid, or my nose is too big and my eyebrows are weird. And I've had people comment some of the most hateful things that are supposed to be Christians on Christian podcasts. Okay, fine. Because those emails I've got from people that said, you helped me find God. That's enough. And that's not my glory. That means he got his job done, right?
And the fact that they commented on your video probably led one of their friends to your video that helped them.
Yes.
So joke's on you.
Yeah.
I hope so, because the first time I went on confessionals, I cried for 3 days, and I left work and had a panic attack because of the comments. It was brutal. I was not prepared, because it was a Christian podcast, and I thought, it was, but they have a lot of Mormon listeners, and they didn't do anything. It was like the comments,
and
they were great.
demons in general, they try to attack the Christian shows. I feel like they get infiltrated heavy.
Yes. Yep. And some of the comments were just crazy stuff. Like one guy said, "Oh, look at that brown makeup she has on. It looks like she rubbed poop on her face." Like just horrible things.
What?
And crazy stuff. And I'm like, I'm the mentally ill one. Like you're pointing at me saying this. Like if you're straight in the head, like I'll take it. I'll just stay where I'm at because I don't go around commenting like that to people. That's weird.
You're not trying to do that,
No. And people just say, like, leave people alone. Oh, you can leave the church, but you can't leave it alone. Oh, I bet you got excommunicated. For those people that think that I'm bitter and got excommunicated, I'm going to have to go excommunicate myself and get an attorney because they won't excommunicate me. I've been waiting. Yeah. I'm right down the street. And I already probably know why. It's two things. It's either a bloodline thing, which people can make fun of that all they want, but that's a real thing. Or they know I'm going to show up with somebody with Google glasses and I'm going to bust that whole thing out and tell them it's my husband. And that's what's going to happen. And people can see just how they treat their members. And that's that.
I think that's probably right. They're like, better not to make her mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know I'm mad enough for sure.
Yes.
And even the Mormon podcast, like the ex-Mormon podcast, like Mormon stories and different ones, like not just them, but other ones. I've written into them. They have responded back. It's a no, thank you every time. I'm even too much for them. They don't want to touch this magic crap. They don't.
Did you ever see they had a Netflix documentary with like the two people that got real famous on social media exposing, but they love the Latter-day Saint stuff they were showing. It'd be cool to see both of you talk to each other.
It would be nice. Anytime anybody wants to have me on, and I try really hard to never say no to a show, big or small, I don't care, because I feel like this is God's work and it really doesn't have anything to me. Like God can make a donkey do things like talk and all kinds of stuff. We see it.
Literally. Yeah.
I mean, I hope I'm not a donkey, but according to the comments, no, just kidding. But right, you can't do anything about it. And my husband's always like, who cares? Screw him. Like, it's fine. You're doing what you need to do. But at the end of the day, it still hurts. I'm still a person. Like, it hurts my feelings.
Your eyebrows are great and your nose is not fat.
Thank you. I've gotten a little better about it, but I do think that it is for God. And it really regrounded me to be like, this isn't even about you. Like, stop, you're not even supposed to care about that. Like, that's vanity. And then I'm no better than the person that's, doing all that to get everybody to heaven in a different way. So I just want to give them the choice. And then if they still willingly want to be an LDS member, knowing the full truth of everything, that's okay. And, even here in Utah, people, this is the worst thing ever. People will ask me, so what's your podcast? And I'm like, are you LDS? Like, I'm looking for garments. It's harder to tell now because they got the new ones. Oh, I'm right by Salt Lake. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm in the hub. And so, the
heart of the mothership.
Yep. The heart of the mothership, JJ Vance. Yes. He always says that's so funny. And so I'm just like, I ask them first. And if they say they're LDS and that they're active, I don't tell them. I just say, you won't like it. And it's okay. And they're like, no. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to black pill you. Like, I don't want to hurt anyone. Okay. But if you've stumbled across this, you're not doing what you're supposed to do anyway. So, and my feelings are that, like, if you're okay with Bigfoot and demons and everything, but you're not okay with woo woo in your own church, I mean,
and test the faith. Why wouldn't you test the spirit and the faith?
Yeah.
You should
and don't lie.
If you love your religion so much and you're so strong in the LDS, you would welcome the challenge.
Well, and then they say things like, they didn't do blood atonement. I'm like, yes, they did. Well, they never proved they did. I'm like, right. Let me stand corrected. Let me stand corrected. You're right. They didn't tell on themselves. They're not stupid. Like, that's why they became in the CIA, and of course, like, there's hidden things in every religion. I am against all religion. I think religion is just really scary. I think that you can go to a church and have a great time there and get fulfilled and worship with people. But I think ultimately you have to be really careful because a lot of times it's corrupted, not on purpose.
It does feed your spirit, but it can feed your spirit poison too.
You have to be so careful. Yeah. My son does go to a church. He goes to the all black Baptist church and he loves it. And I'm like,
the backflips off the pews are the best.
He loves it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's happy about it. And I do like the energy there. You know what I'm saying?
I want to get out of Colorado and go to Mississippi. And I was like looking up religion stuff there. And it's like all Southern Baptists down. I'm like, I can get behind that.
They've got some great talks, but at the end of the day, I know a lot of them become Masons too. So I'm like, you need to watch yourself, son. Like anytime you get into religion, a lot of times, little things infiltrate and that's just the point. And so I just tell people, be careful, don't justify something because Reverend so-and-so, who's a great guy, did it. No.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's my little story. And that's why I still do it.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
That was
for asking.
The occult side of Mormonism is wild. You blew my mind on a lot of stuff tonight that I was like, no way did the Mormons do this. And then there you are.
It gets weird. Yep. Yeah. And they're still doing, all these ceremonies and they'll even admit, we do this after Solomon's temple. We do this after. Well, that's Zoroastrianism. Like, what are you doing?
Have we even touched the mafia yet?
No, we're going to have to.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. We're almost going to have to schedule another one.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do it because it's about this long as well. Because it goes deep into like JFK and RFK and Nixon and wild.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We have to have you back for that one then.
And I didn't even mean to do that. That was like, I went down a rabbit hole and then I was over there and then I was like, why the hell are these people here? Like, what? This has happened to Kennedy's. So
I wondered when you said the Federal Reserve and you put that guy there, and then in the same time frame, I was like, Kennedy, Federal Reserve, something's going on here.
This is older than that. This was like clear back. And, the roots of the Federal Reserve are super questionable at best.
They are murky.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on. Please.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can everybody find you?
Absolutely. Thanks again. I'll be happy to come back and talk Mormon Mafia with you guys. I'm Heidi Luv. I'm of the Unfiltered Rise Podcast. I'm everywhere podcasts are served. I do have my own website. If you don't like Podchasers, it's unfilteredrisepodcast.com and it updates automatically. So you can go watch the shows there if you want, but it helps me if you watch them on Spotify or somewhere. So if you can leave me an Apple review, that would be like amazing because, I have a big nose and stuff. No, but people do leave hate. They leave hate on there too. Yeah. Haters gonna hate. So
all's good for the algorithm.
Yes. Is this coming out soon? Or later?
It takes me about a week to get them out.
Okay. I was gonna say I was gonna do a little plug if so, but it's too soon. So okay. I get it. I'm always a week behind.
Yes. I like to edit them. I'll send you the audio and the edited film and all that stuff. So
okay. Yep. I just do video usually. So if you want, I'll put it out if you don't care. But
we love
when
it.
You're like later when you're done.
Yeah. Whenever you want.
Plus, I'm going to be gone till the 11th.
Yes. Enjoy your birthday.
I'm not going to know what to do with myself. I'm pre-scheduled. All my podcasts will still drop, but man, I don't know. 11 days, nothing. What?
That doesn't happen in America.
No, definitely not. Thanks again, you guys. I had a great time.
Yes. Thank you. Happy birthday. Enjoy your night. It's been hot as heck in Colorado, so hopefully
it's hot here.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to Alaska. That's where we're going.
Yes.
I want to go.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thanks again.
Much love and God bless.